moving on, I have a reading series for you guys today. This one was from the other week, but I made sure to keep this one in my back pocket because it involves a topic that, we love talking about. Matt, you brought up none of the New York Times best podcasts of the year seem to deal with trauma of any kind. There was no trauma
pretty messed up.
or trauma check.
Do better. Come on, podcasters.
Well, here is an article about trauma, and it's about the trauma of a very specific subset of people. That's right, those who work in clandestine intelligence services. Because, look, they got the healthcare bill for Havana syndrome and nothing else, but in the healthcare bill, there was not enough for their mental trauma and anxiety. So this is an opinion piece in Politico titled, "Don't Tell Your Non-Work Friends About the Decapitations. Working in the intelligence community often means living with trauma. We can't pretend it doesn't exist." This is by Heather.
No, I insist. I am the one insisting that there's no trauma involved.
It says this is by Heather Williams, is a senior policy researcher at the nonprofit, nonpartisan RAND Corporation. She formerly served as a deputy national intelligence officer for the National Intelligence Council and spent 13 years working in the intelligence community. She would now like to tell you about her trauma. So the article begins, "Many people grow up wanting to be secret agents. I fell into the field somewhat by chance, though it turned out I was good at it and advanced quickly. Less than a year into the job, I volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where the U.S. was hunting down terrorists like Abu Musab al-Zarqawi and dismantling al-Qaeda organizations. I learned how to fire a rifle, ram a car, search my vehicle for bombs, and withstand torture." So right off the bat, she's saying she volunteered to go to Iraq and fight al-Qaeda there.
That's the hero. We love her.
But one night in the U.S., while sitting down at a restaurant with my non-work friends, I too casually mentioned that suicide bombers tend to decapitate themselves in their attacks. A suicide vest tends to destroy the neck and send a head sailing. My friends turned to me with horror and shock. I was reminded that I shouldn't talk about this part of my life with my normal friends. I mean,
you mean
normies,
your
am I
lame
right?
friends, fucking losers? That's like,
Yeah,
that is an incredibly cool thing to hear from somebody.
Who wouldn't be interested in that factoid that often suicide bombers' heads are perfectly preserved after obliterating the rest of their body?
I bet these people were like, too much information.
Yeah.
Your problem is you need better friends. Get out of here.
This is like when you leave the Invader Zim forum and start talking to people outside of it.
I think that's why they all have to give themselves tactical tummy aches with fake Havana syndrome, because their friends are too lame.
Yeah. It did say she was trained to withstand torture, but apparently she can't withstand a dinner party. Come on.
They got to update the SEER manual to include that. Like having your anecdote not land at a dinner party.
A portion of U.S. intelligence professionals are in the military, but many are civilians. That doesn't stop them from serving in Iraq, Afghanistan, and a host of other dangerous places. Many, like I did, wear a Kevlar helmet and body armor, carry a loaded weapon, and are classified legal combatants. Others watch hours of beheading videos to identify ISIS trademarks, conduct heartbreaking searches for POWs, or identify human remains at the sites of terrorist attacks. Well, if it's a suicide bomber, it'll be pretty easy to identify the remains.
Find the head.
Just find the head. Find the head and, just match it to the driver's license. Easy. I do like she said that part of what's traumatizing is watching hours of beheading videos to identify ISIS trademarks. I mean, I think after one, you pretty much get what the trademark is. They
cut the guy's head off.
Cut a guy's head off. Yeah.
I got to say, the cartels are way more showmanship. A lot of more variety there. They'll bring a chainsaw in once in a while.
Machete.
Yeah.
Dull machete. But yeah, no, I just like the idea of, I mean, yeah, that's a job that would give anyone trauma. I got to be an ISIS video completist. I got to see it all.
This is the same trauma that like Facebook moderators in the Philippines have, only they're paid like 5 cents a day.
And no one
they don't get to get free healthcare for life because they slept too close to some crickets.
When you see a non-ISIS guy use an ISIS trademark in a beheading video, do you get to like DMCA them? Like, hey, come on now, making money off my content.
Sending a copyright strike to the Sinaloa cartel for infringing on ISIS trademarks. Okay, it says, in our line of work, being exposed to violent and traumatizing events all day is routine. Once again, it's like being exposed to violent and traumatizing events. It's like rather than just doing violent and traumatizing events.
Yeah,
it's
kind of like Willy Wonka talking about how he's exposed to candy.
Exposed to violent and traumatizing events all day is routine. And then we leave the office to go home to our family. It's a life that we signed up for, but it doesn't mean that there aren't real consequences. For too long, the real consequences being that you feel bad about yourself, not the dozens of people whose torture that you oversaw personally. It says here, it's a life that we signed up for, but it doesn't mean there aren't real consequences. For too long, the intelligence community has ignored that reality, to the detriment of both its people and the country they serve. Fortunately, there's still plenty that can be done.
They already got the Havana Syndrome money. What else do they fucking want? Jesus Christ.
Matt, that's to stop the invisible cricket lasers from cooking their internal organs. But that doesn't heal the soul, okay?
I like this subtext of this. Like, it's completely preventable for me to feel bad about my job that I'm supposed to feel bad about.
Yeah, like, hey, you know that like basic human fundamental sense of right and wrong that is just screaming at every moment because of the job I do? Is there some sort of pill I could take? Some sort of subsidy you could give me to just wipe that out, please, so I can do my job more effectively for the American people.
I get I think the best website on the internet is Quora. I
love Quora.
I signed up for Quora so I can get daily emails of like what the trending questions on Quora are. But this is like such a Quora question. Like, I work at the CIA and I'm feeling a symptom similar to guilt, but I don't think it's guilt. What is it?
That.
Yeah.
Shout out Alex Pitek and Jeremy and their show Quora Raiders that I went on last week that featured a Quora question. Will anything bad happen to me if I throw up a gang sign for fun?
God damn, Quora is so good.
We did another Quora question, was that like, if an anaconda has wrapped itself around your torso, can you bite the anaconda as a last resort to get out of its death grip?
Good question.
And the answer is no, you can't. It will do nothing. It will only hasten your death.
I mean, you might as well try at that point. What else you got?
Nothing. You got nothing.
Yeah.
I might try to bite just to like get more air out of my lungs so that I die quicker, so that I'm not still alive when its mouth goes over my head.
Yeah, that would suck.
I like the idea that someone asked that question while wrapped with an anaconda.
Oh God, I hope there's somebody online right now who has experience with this.
Yeah, I have to ask like a guy, like a computer programmer from Myanmar, like the only people who answer questions in earnest on Quora, like people from the subcontinent. God bless them. They have more of like they're more civic minded than like any American.
They're trying to help.
They literally are, though. They literally are, and they will. There are so many questions that are like such clear, like, you know, it's like probably like a 13-year-old being a smartass. You know, it's like the type of thing me and my friends would ask when we were that age. It'll be like, oh, I touched my penis and something came out. But the actual response will be like, what you're experiencing is ejaculation. You probably saw semen on the ground, if not pee. What color was it? Like, I think if Elon Musk was a true internet connoisseur, he would have bought Quora instead of Twitter.
Yeah, if he really wants to save the world, giving
from
people
the woke mind
access
virus
to helpful hints and advice, better than just driving them insane with content.
This is about saving civilization, because if wokeism compels young people to think that they can get out of an anaconda wrapping themselves around their bodies by gnawing on its flesh, then I mean our humanity doesn't have much of a future. Let's put it that way.
No.
Let's see. So it says here, yes, for too long, the intelligence community has ignored that reality to the detriment of both its people and the country they serve. Fortunately, there's still plenty that can be done. Trauma is defined as actual or threatened death, injury, or violence. But there is also secondary trauma, the repeated or extreme indirect exposure to adverse details of a traumatic event during the course of professional duties. The latter has been recognized as a problem in other professions, and in the narrow case of intelligence officers who operate drone aircraft, but is rarely talked about broadly in the intelligence community. When I came back from my deployments, I had one, admittedly pro forma and superficial, required meeting with a psychologist, but no one ever checked in on me about my feelings on more than a decade of work immersed in violent topics.
Oh my
I love the
God.
phrase in
Just
there.
drink yourself to death like a real spook, for Christ's sake.
James Jesus Angleton is weeping into his fifth martini of the day in hell.
Pathetic.
No, but I like that she says, the way she phrases this, that no one checked in with me about my feelings after more than a decade of work immersed in violent topics. Yeah, this is like she's like a moderator on the torture forum. She's like, I gotta wade into this topic again. The intelligence community doesn't have a good understanding of how prominent these problems are, particularly the impact of indirect trauma, or how to shift to a more proactive approach to addressing trauma exposure. At RAND, where I now work, we've been looking at the risks of lasting trauma on those who do intelligence work. We interviewed middle and senior managers from multiple agencies and found that there are some mental health supports available for intelligence professionals, but they appear underutilized and may not be equipped to meet the true scale of the need.
That would be a damn shame if they couldn't meet the true scale of the need.
Is this the jobs everyone's going to have in the future? You're either an app slave or you're the personal consoler of deep state murderers. Is that it? That's your only non-app related job? Is they call you up in any hour of the night and you're like, no, you're a good person. Fingernails grow back. It's fine.
More broadly, the intelligence community lacks a culture of mental wellness.
Wow.
That's my favorite. I think that's my favorite sentence that I've read this year. I'm just gonna go, DJ, run that back. More broadly, the intelligence community lacks a culture of mental wellness. When the third Iraqi cab driver who was sold to us begged for his life in one of our torture dungeons, I thought that the culture there was really affecting my wellness.
See, this is why you need these people to be immersed in occult practice and to do like overt ritual abuse. Because if they don't, they just become these embarrassing dorks. You have to like lean into the evil.
Yeah, you're not going to win the Alan Dulles Award with this crybaby horseshit. Because we found there's a poor understanding of the risks, particularly of secondary trauma, among all levels of staff. I love it's like, yeah, we're all aware of the risks that like someone may kill me for all the evil I do in the world, but no one really prepared me for the secondary trauma caused by all the evil and suffering that I inflict on other people. That means individuals may fail to recognize the effects of this stress, or they may lack the vocabulary needed to describe their feelings so as to effectively seek care. Intelligence professionals adhere to a strict code of ethics, which includes remaining neutral when informing policymakers about issues. This makes them party to life and death decisions, but without the agency to determine their outcomes. They must defer to policymakers about whether, for example, the U.S. will act to prevent atrocities they anticipate. Missing something, too, can bring on a sense of guilt and blame. God, I hate working in the intelligence community and being riven with guilt about all the atrocities I could have stopped from happening but didn't.
I mean, it's like my biggest flaw is that I'm too much of a perfectionist.
I work too hard at my job.
Yeah.
Intelligence professionals can also experience moral injury, a less understood form of trauma. Moral injury stems from failure to prevent or bearing witness to acts that violate their deeply held moral beliefs and expectations. This can happen when intelligence programs overstep their authorities and violate civil freedoms, or even when those in a position of political power fail to protect secrets obtained through great risk and sacrifice. Julian Assange did so much. He caused so much trauma to so many intelligence workers.
Oh my God, there's so much imposter syndrome caused by that.
I think we should.
He'll never reckon with the damage.
As a way to heal their trauma, I think we should stop calling them derogatory things like spooks or spies or war criminals. I think they should be called torture workers.
Torture work is work.
Torture work is work. The intensity of the job can compound damage from trauma exposure. Both deployed and at home, I worked long hours on rotating shifts, factors that can be more detrimental to mental health than direct combat exposure. So she's saying working long hours in an office can be more traumatic than
actually worse
direct
than
combat
being
exposure.
Wait, dodging mortars. Oh man.
Poor
These are
management and toxic work environments, which are sadly too common in the intelligence community, can exacerbate the risk. Folks, the CIA is a toxic work environment, and they have to do better.
They have to do better.
I'm a bisexual torture worker with mental health problems because of my toxic work environment. Stigma is a well-recognized hindrance to seeking mental health care, but intelligence officers may further worry that seeking help, even through official channels, could compromise their security clearance. Yeah, no shit. You start to ask the official CIA fucking psychologists, they're like, hey, I'm starting to feel bad about some of the things I've seen and done. Do you think that will hinder your career? Do you think you'll get the promotion that you're hoping for?
You know what? You sound stressed. Why don't you take these tickets to see a magician in New York City?
We've got you a new hey, look, stressed out torture workers, we've got you a new self-driving Tesla that's networked with our computer servers. It'll get you to your therapist's office or off a bridge if needed. Well, Michael Hastings prescription. It says they are often legally prohibited from talking about their professional experiences with their family and friends, which could typically be an important support network for someone experiencing trauma. The effects ripple through these agencies, which are vital to U.S. national security. Employees suffer from depression and substance abuse, or reduced productivity and professional burnout. Oh, God.
Can't have
reduced
that.
productivity at the torture factory. That can prompt unnecessarily high staff turnover, which has higher stakes in a sector where people require costly security clearances and depart with a head full of secrets. One positive note is that the intelligence community isn't the first to deal with these problems. It is simply late to doing so. There is a wealth of applicable literature on trauma risks for the military, first responders, journalists, and other professions. But intelligence leaders must be willing to dedicate attention and resources to the problem. The intelligence community needs to communicate to its workforce about the varied forms of trauma, how it affects individuals, and what resources exist to help. And employees won't seek that help if they fear it will cost them their jobs. So intelligence officials need to ensure policies are clear, available, and protect staff appropriately seeking care. Lastly, the community should research how to design and implement programming that will cultivate an environment of mental wellness. Well, I'd like to just recommend a wonderful program. It's about the lives of people in Vermont. It's about a student body president. It's about the local guy who keeps his Christmas lights up all year round. We use sort of a lot of heavy editing and audio design to bring their stories to life in a way that you'll feel that trauma melting away, and you'll want to live in that small Vermont town. I am luckier than most. My parents are social workers, and I grew up in an environment where feelings, even the dark ones, were seen as healthy. My husband has experienced war. I don't feel I have to hide my emotional scars from him. As time has passed, I tell myself it has gotten easier. But in truth, I am just less frequently confronted with reminders of my deployment. I continue to research some of the world's ugliest problems, and resilience and hardiness are requirements of the job. But even now, I sometimes feel myself approach the fraying edges of my own emotional capacity. Folks, she's out of spoons.
The spoons are gone.
The spoons are gone.
Fortunately, there's a rich spoon deposit in an unstable African country. We're going to send you there to just drop a bunch of opium and underage children on top of some warlords so that we can get access to them.
And finally, that secret agent job you might have imagined, there are days it is adrenaline-filled and even glamorous. It is also isolating and relentless. It inflicts mental and emotional costs. The consequences of ignoring those can be tragic, either individually or to the nation. Protecting the intelligence workforce can help protect us all. There we go.
All right, yeah, the hug boxes for CIA operatives. That's what they need. Like just a robot that they could repurpose the drowning robots to also hug them.